Let's start. We're recording. Hello, hello, and welcome to Access Your Communication Genius, a free intro about the class. My name is Kass Thomas, and I'm an Access Consciousness Certified Facilitator. And we will be using some tools of access and all the energy of access consciousness in this hour video together. And if you have never heard of Access before, please check out accessconsciousness.com. You can find my profile on there, also accessconsciousness.com/Kass Thomas. Lots of amazing tools. And today is April 23rd. I'd love to express my gratitude for everyone showing up here today. It's April, the year 2020, and it's quite magical for me. Today was the day my mom was born. And so it is a day I have been celebrating all of my life. And I'm really grateful for her for choosing to show up here on the planet. And I'm also grateful for her choosing to have me on the planet. And, you know, when I grew up she was an amazing communicator as well. And I'm really grateful to her for all of the people and different languages and cultures that she was continuously in connection with. And she was a nurse, my mom. And so I did work with her as high school. When I was in high school, I started, my first job was working with her as, you know, during the summertime. And she really was about communicating with people in a way that honored them, right? And I was, you know, nice as a teenager, but she trained me on how to answer the phone in her office in a way that was honoring of people. And so, not just, hello, may I help you? You know, hello, good afternoon, good morning. My name is Kass. You just called the office of Jean. How may I help you? And if I did not actually say it that way, she would ask me to say it again. And thanking them, taking their number, and wishing them a good day, you know? And I thought at the time, oh my goodness, she's such a, you know, do I have to say that every time? It's my dad on the phone. Do I actually have to say all that? And she said yes. And it wasn't until years later that I actually acknowledged how much her capacities to really welcome everyone and to be an invitation to everyone and kind to everyone, how much that um, influenced my life, influenced how I approach communication and the people that I invite into my life with kindness. So I'm really grateful for her, and it's perfect day to talk about access your communication genius. You know, when I was communicating with different people at different ages and stages of my life, I would notice that some people had resistance, right? Some people weren't happy. Some people were not interested in actually talking. And I didn't really ask myself why, you know? I chose a different tactic, and it worked a lot. And I would just bombard them with kindness. So much so that they would just give up and they would be like, okay, fine, I'll talk to you. You know? Once I live in Rome now, right? I was born in the States and I love music. It's a way that I connect with lots of energies and vibrations. And I remember I met this guy, this really tall um, Black American guy in Rome playing music that I loved. in a restaurant, a huge restaurant. And I went over to him and I said, "Oh my goodness, I love that music." And he was like, "Back up." And I bombarded him. "I love that music. Where did you get that music? Where are you from? You must have lived in New York, because I know this music and I know the house music, they call it. And I was there when they started house music." And he's like, and I said, "Maybe he's not American. Maybe he just looks American." And he said to me in Italian, "Non ti conosco," which means "I don't know you." And I said, "Oh, that's fine. You don't have to know me." And I just immediately, like I had done all my life, went up beyond his barriers. I went and got so close in front of him, and not always physically, but energetically, that he couldn't resist, and he didn't choose to resist. Now, I wasn't necessarily all my life doing that in a conscious way, but really grateful for the tools of access, which allow me and allow other people to see that you're not wrong, right? Other people might do it in a different way, but you're not wrong, no matter how you choose to do it, you know? So to recognize the way you communicate with people, to recognize the way you communicate with animals, to recognize the way you express yourself, and acknowledge that it's something that's different about you, that it is your particular genius, without thinking you're wrong. And in Access, we say without going into the wrongness of you, then you're able to see it from a different perspective. And that's the invitation with Access Your Communication Genius, to see how you have communicative capacities that go beyond what this reality considers normal. This DJ guy is a great friend of mine now, and I didn't even ever buy, right, buy the lie that he wanted to be distant, that he did not want to be approached, that so many people put up barriers. And usually, those people who have up barriers are some of the most sensitive people in the world, right? They are some of the people that have experienced in their lives something that makes them feel vulnerable. One of the things I love about Access is that we talk about vulnerability from different perspectives. When we hear vulnerability, we think the capacity to be wounded. What Access and the tools of Access show us is there's a huge potency in being vulnerable. There's a huge capacity that you can access when you're vulnerable, because you don't have up any walls or barriers, right? So some of the things that we play with in this Access Your Communication Genius is, what are the different ways that people react to you that make you the weak side of vulnerable, or make you feel wrong? And then how is it that you react to that? And what choices can you access that would allow you to communicate with everyone with ease and joy and glory? Yeah. When I first started with Access, there was, okay, Cat was a kitten. It was back when, right? There were just seeds of grass, not really grass. But when I first started with Access, I learned two questions. my girlfriend, Karen Jones from the United States, was living in Rome, and I met her in Rome years ago. And then I moved to Rome, and she moved back to the US. I was like, I never asked myself, is that something I did that made her move? No. And she came back on vacation, and she kept saying, how does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? What else is possible? What else is possible? Pock and pod. And I said, oh my God, what happened to my friend Karen? She used to be so smart. Now all she does is repeat the same phrases over and over again. And I said, what is that? What are you saying? What? And she started telling me about Access. And she ran my bars. I didn't feel anything. I was so much in control, of myself and my life. And, I didn't feel anything. That was in 2003. She came back in 2004, and she left me with a question. She said, why don't you ask for every situation that shows up in your life, whether it's a good situation, whether it's something that works for you, whether it's something that doesn't work for you, ask the question, how does it get any better than this? I said, okay, I'll try it. And she said, and if it's not changing, ask what else is possible. Okay, I'll try it. And I noticed that already I communicated really well with people. Even if I didn't speak the language, I could still communicate with them. And I showed this picture earlier about sometimes communication isn't about words, right? But I noticed with this, what else is possible, that people would respond to me in a different way. Okay. And I also noticed that sort of all of my life, I had been being that question. How does it get any better than this? What else is possible? Right? So, what is it that you have been being all of your life that, if you were willing to acknowledge it, would open up a whole world of possibilities for you? Right? And that may sound like, if you've never heard of Access, that may sound like a complicated question. Believe me, the Access questions can be a lot more involved and a lot longer. And I love that about them, because when you're really functioning a lot in your mind, those questions that we use in Access Consciousness go beyond your thinking mind, around your thinking mind, make you go, and then open up. Your awareness, open up. Your genius, access your communicative genius. One of the things that the following year, my girlfriend Karen came back in 2005, and she taught me, as we say in Access, facilitated me, the Access Foundation. And she facilitated the class in my house, in my living room, the same house I'm in now. And I helped her translate the manual into Italian, and I was organizing things so I didn't have to pay attention. But the one thing I remembered from that class on the second day was this story that was in the foundation about the golden planet. And it was a fairy tale. It started off once upon a time. And something rang so clear to me in this story about the capacity that we all have to communicate on a very, very different level. In fact, once I read that, I finally felt like I was home, that someone or something or a modality actually spoke to what I had always known all of my life, but that maybe other people around were not receiving. So, my question to you is, what is it that you have known all of your life? What is it that you have been aware of all of your life that perhaps up until now, no one else has been willing to receive? And everything that brings up. And what do I mean by that? All the energy that can bring up, right? Everything. When I just asked that question and my chest started expanding. And I took a deep breath. That's how change shows up for me. Shifts in energy show up for me. How does it show up for you? Right? So I'm going to ask the question again and see if anything shifts for you. Exactly. Somebody just sneezed. That's exactly. It can always show up in a very different way for people. And sometimes it's sneezing, right? And then we might go into, oh, there's something's gone wrong. I've sneezed. I'm not feeling well. But it may not be that you're not feeling well. It may be that you're perceiving a change in energy. Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you again, what is it that shows up for you? What is it that you have been aware of? What is it that you know that up until now, no one has been able or willing to perceive? And everything that is, will you now release it? And what do I mean by that, release it? Well, in Access, we use something called the clearing statement. And I've invited a lot of friends on here that maybe have never heard of Access. And the clearing statement basically means whatever it is energetically, what it's about, whatever it is that has not allowed you to express your genius, all the experiences, past experiences we've had, people putting up barriers, people judging us, people criticizing us, people not um, receiving us, right? Everything that does not allow you to access your capacities, will you please destroy and uncreate it? What does that mean, right? I'll tell you in a minute. Right, wrong, good, bad, all nine, pod, box, short, boys, and beyonds. You see, this capacity we have to communicate without words, yeah. This capacity we have to pick up on other people's thoughts, this capacity we have to communicate and be communicated to, not just with people in front of us, not just with people in bodies, not just with people, not just with things and people on this planet. The capacity we have to not only see what's in front of us, but to see what has been part of our lives in the past, what will be part of our lives in the future, and what has been part of our lives in other existences. Those are so many different layers of communication, right? Some people talk with the people in their home, and most of us in these days, hopefully, are doing that, even if those people are not in bodies. Some people talk with their family, some people talk with their neighbors, some people may even be what they call international, you know, so they talk with foreigners. Some people may be international and communicate with people from another country or from two or three other countries, right? That's one perspective. Some people are global and they don't perceive others as foreigners, or they don't perceive people who are living in a geographic location that is named something different than the geographic location where they're living. What does that mean? Another country. They don't see that as a separate thing. They perceive themselves as a citizen of the world, which is a little different than international, you know, between nations. Some people see themselves as part of the universe, right? So we have in this universe a sun and a moon. We've got some stars, you know, other planets, you know. Some people see themselves as a being, right? An infinite being in the universe. And some people have a communication capacity that goes beyond this universe and beyond the stars, you know? So there's so many different layers, you know, national, international, global, universal, and beyond. And a lot of times people do not recognize our capacity to access that. One of the things I love about these specialty classes, and I don't do that many, but I've chosen them. I did a Tales from the Golden Planet class for 4 years around the world, and it's time to change. And I said, what will I choose? And why was I choosing that? And it's always about communication for me. From the first time I took a foundation class with Access and I read that story and it pinged me and I said, finally, I'm home. And home is not in a house. Home is not just in a city or country. Home is when your being reaches and unites with the vibration of everything and everyone, not only around you, but also in existence. And a lot of times that's not easy because we don't have the tools to be able to deal with that, to be able to recognize that, to be able to make it easy for us. But with these tools of access and with this access your communicative genius, what I'm inviting people to is to really, I mean, it's sort of in the title, right? Access your communication genius. Is to really go beyond any of the locks and barriers that we have put on ourselves due to the experiences we've had in this lifetime or any other. And that's what I love about Access, that we can play with energies that go beyond just this reality. We can play with energies that are global, that are universal, and that are beyond the universe. and have so much more ease with communication. And I'm really grateful for these tools because it's not about teaching you anything new, although that is the way we say it here, teaching you. It's about facilitating. What does that mean? It means making it easy. It's not about teaching you communicative genius. It's about inviting you to access, to have access to your potency, your vulnerability, your expansive energy, and your capacity to change any situation. Now, that's the way we do it in Access. There's a lot of modalities that do some awesome stuff, you know? There's, Sai Baba, Alibaba, Buddhism, there's lots of stuff, lots of different ways. And that's also your communicative genius. Because one of the things about Access is it talks about you and me and us. It talks about consciousness. That's the name of it, Access Consciousness, right? And consciousness is what we are, who we are. And the way we put into words consciousness and access is that it includes everything and judges nothing. Right? So there's no exclusion. Whatever it is that works for you, that's what we're inviting you to do. How cool is that? Yeah. Some of the things that I love, there's a lot. In addition to the people, I love the classes with Access because there's so few up until now people who are asking questions how they can better stuff, right? But I wrote a book, a small book, a couple of books, but a small book on communication. The founder of Access Consciousness, Gary Douglas, made me write it. He kept saying to me, write this book, write this book, write a book about communication. Kass, the way you do it, other people need to know. Write the book. I said, why do I have to write a book? You got some great books. Yes, but what you know, and this is what I'm saying to you, and how you express yourself is very different than the way anyone else does. So, what if we were not trying to imitate anyone else? What we're willing to do is to explore and expand our capacities to communicate in a very different way. Okay. So, in the book, I try to use some common language, and there's different ways to say things, when people are dealing with their work, when people are dealing with their children, when people are dealing with their home and relationships. Do a lot of different classes on that with the 7 Steps program, and don't always use the same language I'm using now because not everyone actually can receive that. And what I got, thanks to Access, is that I may be communicating it just fine. But if I don't take into consideration what someone else is able to receive, then there is not a flow in communication. So anywhere you think that you cannot communicate, or you are not communicating well, or that you have to change, please know that the only constant is change. But you don't have to change you. You just have to be aware of what someone else is able and willing to receive. And this is what the tools that I love to play with that I would like to invite you to. Access uses 4 different examples. And we play with this a lot in the Access Your Communication Genius. And I also used it in my 7 Steps to Flawless Communication book in step number 5 to invite people to these tools of access. It's something called creating energy flows. What does that mean? Now, if you say that, communicate that to someone who's never heard of access, even the word energy, they're like, oh boy, cuckoo, 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 right? So choose the words that someone is able and willing to receive. But creating energy flows is about changing the energy, changing the capacities, changing the way your communication is received, changing the way someone gets what you're talking about, gets what you're trying to communicate. Isn't that cool? It's amazing. So I'd like to play a little bit with you today in this short little thing with that particular one. And I think Laz will send me some pictures on it too. So I do these classes all over the world, and we play with in this particular class. I did it last month in Budapest, a day-long class, and I do 1 day class on this Access Your Communication Genius at least once a month. And yeah, Gary insists a bit on that. So I'm doing it, I'm following, I'm leading, I'm going. So these creating energy flows in terms of communication is one of the many tools we use in the Access Your Communication Genius. But it is so amazing. And people, we have that in one of the basic classes of access. We have bars, which is 32 points on the head. When lightly touched, releases the electromagnetic component of thought, feelings, and emotions. I recorded a commercial for Access that's on Voice America Radio, and every time I say the bars, I just repeat the commercial. It's been like 10 years ago, but they're still using it. So how cool is that? And the foundation class, which is now a 4-day class, is right after the bars. And in that 4-day class, so I think about 800 people around the world who teach it. It's amazing. They have this energy flows, right? And in the manual, there are these energy flows, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. And in this particular specialty class of Access, the Access Your Communication Genius, I go into it in quite a different way, in a little bit more depth, shall we say. It's like my communication genius, showing you how you react to people, how they react to you, and how you can change that and create a flow so that you can communicate very effectively and also obtain the results you'd like. Now, in Access, we don't really talk about results. We talk more about, what you desire. However, I'd like to give you an extensive vocabulary so that you can communicate with not only people who are able to perceive the universes beyond this universe and travel through the stars, right? But also people who are just like in this universe, right? They're just dealing with the stars in this universe. But also people who are like global and, everyone on the planet. And also people who are national or international. Because this is a very, very unique time on this planet. And we're here, right? I know we're here. So I'd love to be the invitation for you to access your communicative genius so that we can invite a different vibration on this planet so that the birds and the trees and the leaves on the trees and the animals on two legs and four legs and the children being born at this time on the planet will have a different possibility because you will be all of you and present. I know we can do it. I know we can do it. I know we can be it. And I know that's why I'm here. Yeah. Okay. So, four things just want to say that we talk about in these energy flows with Access. I love them so much. They excite me. What excites you? What excites you? Everything that does not allow you to perceive it, to know it, not just in your mind, but with every cell of your body, to be it and to receive it. Will you destroy and create all that? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine short boys and beyonds. Destroy it means don't try to fix it, just get rid of it. Poof. We do that with a lot of numbers in Access, just like get rid of it, right? Go away, right? It's like a magic wand. It's almost like, oh, go away, ding, thanks so much, gone, right? We do that also with what we call the clearing statement, right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine short boys and beyonds. What does it mean? Who cares? It works, okay? What it means is that however I have constructed this as a limitation for me, this barrier between me and my communicative genius, whatever it is, I don't even care what it is, please just let it go away, okay? And if you, again, you can find more information about that, theclearingstatement.com. It's a website, it's in lots of different languages, and it's a lovely Dr. Dane here. Can you see him? He's over there in the corner looking at us. He's the co-creator of Access Consciousness, and he truly invites us to the very greatest adventure. And that's one of his books. Yeah, I'm in there too. I've got a chapter in the greatest adventure book as well. So one of the things that I want to talk about now is just the barriers up. What is it? And I'd like you to write this down because if you'd like to join us on one of the calls the next month or in the following month, we'll be doing a one-day call with images and lots of online play and fun and interaction and working and talking together. But write this down, and whether you're on the class or you're just asking yourself, what is it that stops me from accessing my communicative genius? And maybe someone will put that in the chat for you too. What is it that stops me from accessing my communicative genius? Okay. What is it? And the next question I'd like you to write down is, what is it that actually activates my communicative genius? And what do we mean by that communicative genius? My capacity to receive everything. So, with the tools of access and with the energy flows, what we play with and what's in the foundation manual, but what we play with in this particular class is often quite a surprise for people. Because if I say to you, don't be pushy, you can't be pushy, you can't push people around. Please do not push people around because pushing people around is not very nice. You would say, oh, yes, I totally agree. Don't push me around because I don't like it. But is it true? Is it true? Some people, most people would assume that they don't want to be pushed around. They don't want to be controlled. They don't want to be, dominated by someone. But in these classes and in playing with these energy flows, what people have surprisingly found out about the way they receive communication from others is that sometimes they get bored or they're not listening unless someone's being pushy. I guess a couple of people listening. So everything that is, and everywhere we have been pushed until the breaking point. Yeah, exactly. Can we destroy and create all that? Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, short, boys and beyonds. Now again, destroy means just get rid of it. And uncreate means stop feeding creative energy and juices in your creative genius capacities. Stop using them to nurture and make bigger any limitation, any diminishment, which means making smaller, anything that is not a contribution to your communication, okay? With you, with your body, with your family, with your partners, with your kids, with your colleagues, with your bosses, with your employees, with your competitors, right? With your competitors. What does that mean? That means anybody, right, who is having you in competition. A lot of times, people who are in competition with us are pushy. So, what if you could have fun with pushy people? How do you do that? Well, normally, when someone is pushing us, when someone is pushing us and someone is talking to us and they're pushing energy at us and they're talking at us and they're not talking with us and they are not taking us into consideration, but they are pushing energy at us and bombarding us with their point of view, a lot of times we put up, go back, no, please, no, go back, right? We put up barriers. Or we allow them to knock us over, right? What if you could or you would access your communicative genius and change the situation? Not only would it be for you a pleasure and less stressful, because it takes a lot of energy to keep barriers up, right? And to push people back. It takes a lot of energy, and your body's all tense. Look at this, and your neck is like this, and you're like, oh. What if you could get them to change invite them to change, would it be more ease for you? Would it be more ease for them? Would it create more of a flow? And would a flow be more of a contribution to everything on the planet? Oh, yeah. And if our planet's doing good, would it be a contribution to the rest of the universe? Oh, yeah. And if our universe is doing good, would it be a contribution to beyond? So, at whatever level you are communicating, whether it be just in your house, with your family, or with your doggy or kitty, or with your table, whether it's just in your neighborhood, or your country, or in a couple of countries, or the whole world, or the universe, and beyond, it'll be a contribution. So, just a quickie. If someone is being pushy to you, and I love these tools of access because you ask questions all the time. I'm feeling a little strange. I'm feeling a bit resistant. I'm feeling like I want to fall back. Is someone pushing me? Is there pushy energy around? Is there pushy behavior? Is there aggressive behavior? That's how we say it, aggressive behavior. And if, the moment you ask that question, you've got like a light go on in your head, then that's probably what it is. You can push back. That's what a lot of people do. Someone's pushing at you, you push back. Someone's pushing at you, you push back. Someone's pushing at you, you push back. And sometimes we call that marriage. Sometimes we call that friendship, right? But if instead of pushing back, you actually pulled, they would lose their tense behavior, right? Because they're so used to, there's 100,000 reasons why people are pushy, and we don't have time at the moment to go into that, but we will. But they think a lot of times, let's just say that they cannot get your attention unless they push. And sometimes they're right. You know, we don't listen. We're like, la di da di da. And someone starts yelling, and we're like, huh? What? 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 What's going on? What's up? Yeah, yeah, I'm listening. I'm listening. Right? They don't get your attention unless they're being pushy. So they use that as a way to get your attention. But if you're willing to be present with them, and to pull energy, not from them. You know, in the 7 steps, I talk about this and I call it engage the universe. There's lots of different ways we engage the universe in the 7 steps. This particular one is about pulling energy from behind them, through them, to you and through you. Now, I know if you've never even heard of those energy fields, you're like, what are you talking about? Pulling energy? What is that? How do you do that? These are access tools. It's not about teaching you something you don't know. So if ever the question, how do you do that, comes up, I'd like to give you something to add to your question. It's not about how do you do that. How do I do that? Okay? How do I already do that? As this is one of the gifts that these tools have been to me, is the capacity, you know, to articulate who we are, what we do, and how we do it. Okay? And when we acknowledge that, when we recognize that, then our capacities to communicate in a amazing way activate, and we have access to more enjoyment in our lives, more money in our lives, more other things that you might like in your life. Please, pleasure for your body, and life becomes a lot more fun. So this pulling energy, let me just tell you how we do it, how many of us do it, many different ways, but I'll tell you one way, and surely you have done it before and do it with a lot of ease. Okay. Have you ever been have you ever been in a room, right, where you're trying to get someone's attention who's on the other side of the room? Maybe you've been in a class or a conference, an access class somewhere, and someone's on stage and they're talking, and you can't really say, "Hey, Joe, hey, hey." You can't really say that, right? Because it's not so nice. Somebody's talking and, you don't want to interrupt them. But you are looking at Joe and you're like, look at me, look at me, come on, look. You're not waving your hand, but you are like with every pore of your being saying, come on, look, I'm over here, I'm over here, I'm over here, come on. And then the moment they turn around, you relax. Or it could be that you're waiting for someone outside the movie theater or somewhere, and you're like, oh, the movie's gonna start. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Where are you? And then you notice your phone's ringing or they show up. That you have been pulling what we call an access energy. You have been pulling energy. So I'm just gonna invite you to play with it for a minute right now, right? If you're watching this video, for example, oh goodness, some people already started. Hold it. Or if you're watching your translator's video and you see something behind them, right? Or something on their head or something, glasses or something. And let's say you want to pull them to you. I'm going to count to 3 because I know everyone's going to do it really fast. I know how that works. Okay. And just on 3, pull. 1. I knew you started already. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Pull that gold exactly to you. Now turn it up. Pull harder. Pull harder. Cool. You cannot think about this. And this is the beauty of these tools of access. It's not about thinking about it. It is about going beyond that 10% maximum capacity of your brain and your being, which we call the mind, and accessing something that is your genius, that is non-definable, that is not categorizable, that is not duplicatable, that is uniquely yours, and it is not better, not worse, and not the same as anyone else's. It just is a capacity we all have, and it shows up in a very different way. Okay? So if you'd like to explore more your capacity to change any situation by being in contact with every bit of genius that you already are and have, everything that does not allow you to perceive nor be and receive that, to perceive, ooh, like the wind, to know, not doubt it, to be sure and present with you, and to receive it, acknowledge it. Please, will you destroy it? Get rid of it, what doesn't allow it, uncreate it, stop feeding your creative energy to, oh, I can't do it, oh, I'm not good at it, oh, it's only, Kass who can do it, or Gary who can do it, or Dane who can do it, right? Or somebody else, or Jesus, or, Allah, Buddha, Yahweh, the highway, right? Muhammad, will you destroy and uncreate everything that does not allow you to know and access your communicative genius and be and receive the ease in communication, the joy in communication, and the glory, the exuberant expression of life that is knocking on your door? And you just have to answer it. Okay? All right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine, short boys and beyonds. And that's like a magic wand and a magical broom that takes away all of the excuses we have for not being magic. So, anyway, that pulling energy from behind someone, through them, to them, is what I would like to invite you to do the next time someone is pushy with you. And I promise you that if you're willing, we will take a ride on the journey of your life that will allow you and your genius and your communication to explode. Okay? Thank you so much for joining. I hope that this was as fun for you as it was for me. And I'd love to share some more with you. A lot of people only have an hour, and we'll be doing on May 14th and once a month. But May 14th, one-day class on Access Your Communication Genius. If you'd like to sign up for it, hopefully you'll find the link to it in your chat. If you don't, we'll send it to you in the email. And I would like to really invite you to acknowledge who you are, what you are, why you're here, and how together, we can make this world a beautiful, beautiful planet. Okay? Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.